We're moving into the third of our series, and I'm going to warn you right up front, I'm going to push some envelopes today, and it's okay, because I'm going to share with you my take, and as I always say, try it. If it works for you, okay. If not, let it be. But I'm going to take on some subjects, religious subjects, that many times are just not talked about. Because sometimes when you're in this position as a minister and you don't have a clue, it's best just not to talk. So I'm going to take a whack at it. We'll see how it goes. But don't forget, on Tuesday night, 7 to 8:30, right here in the sanctuary, we're going deeper to go higher. We are. We went another notch again Tuesday. But before I get started today, I know this is probably difficult to see, but I wanted to share this with you. Justiana went on Christy Whitman's Desire Factor Club on Facebook and got a response from Christy in 11 minutes. This is awesome. Thanks for sharing. Honored, with a smiley face and a heart. So we're now part of Unity Harrisburg, and this journey that you and I are on is now part of Christy Whitman's whole Facebook. I don't know how many people were on it, but it was kind of cool. And I thought it was neat that she took the time to answer this. Pretty cool. I wanted to share that. I started this whole journey a couple weeks ago with Einstein, and I'm going to end today again with Einstein because I find he was so far ahead of most people, and he was so clear thinking that he allowed spirituality and science to come together when so many others were locked into their dogma, whether they were on the science side or on the religious side or spirituality side. But everything is energy. That's all there is to it. We're going to continue to take it to another level today. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. So my question is, for those of you who have picked a desire factor through this journey of 3 weeks so far, some of you have already told me you've manifested. Some of you have not. And the question I'm going to ask you is, number one, have you been concise and wrote down what that is? And if so, then we want to talk today about how important it is of getting everything in alignment vibrationally with what you want. Because if not, you have split energy. And we're going to talk about what that means and how you begin to change it. But I love what he said at the very end. This is not philosophy. This is not just some intellectual activity. This is physics. It's science. It's true. And as we align ourselves to this truth, we begin to see changes happen, and happen very quickly. The human way, for me and you, is to try to take shortcuts sometimes and only do parts of it. So then we have to go back, we make a step forward or two, and then we got to go back and kind of clean up what we might have missed. And the first thing that I find in most people that I coach around this is they resist writing down what they want. Do you know why that is? Because they have to commit to write it down. And it's much easier, is it not, to just stay up here in airy-fairy thought land and say, well, yeah, I want a little bit of this and I want a little bit of that. But instead of focusing and committing that this is what I want, we resist writing it down. I'm not going to ask anyone here who hasn't written it down, because you know who it is, but there are some, even 3 weeks into it, because there's also fear of failure. If I don't write it down and don't commit to it, then I can't at the end say, oh, I didn't make it, it didn't happen for me. And that's also part of the process we all go through in getting zero lasered focused on what it is that we want. And that's step one, and we've talked about that a lot. Vibration is so important. As we know, the whole universe is through vibration, right? Law of attraction, we talked a lot last week. And how our vibration is created is something that we have not really been taught very well. We've all been about thought. Now, thought has vibration, but it is not your point of attraction. Your point of attraction is how you feel. And that's what you're attracting, because it's going to, the universe, through the law of attraction, always brings to you your predominant vibration. And your emotions, your feelings, predominantly are more stronger than your thoughts, are they not? Your thoughts can fly around. Emotions, energy in motion, creates the strongest vibration. It's your point of attraction to the universe to bring to you what you vibrate at, not what you say you want. And we're going to talk about that. Our thoughts create our feelings. We've talked about that a lot. Our feelings create our vibrations. You're going to hear this time and time again through 7 weeks, 8 weeks of this. And we are either aligned with source energy or God or whatever word works for you, or we are not. There is only 2 options. Now you say, Reverend Dan, can this be this simple? It is. Now there's degrees of aligned and not aligned. But when you ask yourself, am I aligned with source energy on this desire, you will know by your feelings, your emotional guidance system. We were created with both thought and feeling, and we have not been taught well in the West how to connect with our feelings around it. But this question can be answered every minute of every day. Am I in alignment? Yes, it feels good. No, it doesn't feel good. I can make a change. And if you know by now, I live by the principle of KISS, keep it simple and spiritual. This is the reason, because confusion comes from such complexity that the ego wants you to be confused, does it not? Because then you don't have clarity and you can't move forward in a very strong way. I've been showing this because we're going to work with it. That whole picture there of the auras or the energy fields, we're going to start doing more work with that, especially on Tuesdays, because that's your vibration to the universe. It's your attraction point to bring to you what you're vibrating. And this is where you begin to make the changes. You have to do the work inside with thought, but then you've got to make sure that you're in alignment with source energy as it flows through to what you want to get to your desire. I talk all the time now about these 7 universal laws. They're eternal, forever, universal, everywhere, absolute. They always remain the same. And what happens is we begin to embrace this whole concept. Just like gravity here is in the physical, it always works. We're the ones that don't work sometimes, right? When we say, well, I don't believe in gravity anymore. Well, that's what we do vibrationally. That's unconsciously. We say, well, you know what? I don't believe in the law of attraction. Law of attraction doesn't care what you believe. It's going to bring what you are bringing to it in your attraction point of your vibration within you. And we're going to see the consequences of that in the next law as we get to it, which is the law of karma. What happens to you? What did you just feel when I said law of karma? Was it good? Many times not. Because law of karma is used to be about the bad things that come to you, right? Well, that's just my karma. Well, to me, that's no different than it's just the devil made me do it, or God ignored me. It's victim consciousness, it's victim vibration to blame it on anything else except for what I've decided to bring into my life. And karma can be used the same way, and it has been in many parts of the world. Because karma is something negative. It's not. Karma is neutral. There's no judgment to this law. It brings the consequences of what we bring as our attraction point, our set point to the universe. And the law doesn't care. It doesn't judge us. It doesn't judge your thought. It's both the action and the consequence of that action. So the law itself is not negative. It will bring back things that you don't like if you had put them out. but it will also bring back good, right? So we look at it, it's called the cause and effect. We look at it in the Bible, it's called you reap what you sow. It's called the boomerang universe. What you put out comes back. There's many ways to describe this, right? But it works all the time. Now people will ask me, I'm coaching, it's like, well, do you think that came from another lifetime? I said, I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is the present moment. What are you experiencing? And if you're experiencing something you do not want and it doesn't feel good, change it. Choose differently. But we get all tied up in this analysis back to, well, and if we're not going to make it complicated enough what happened by the time we were 7 with our parents, we'll go back 500 lifetimes. Well, no one's going to figure that out. It's an exercise of this. It's not down here. And as we begin to keep it simple and move down and say, you know what, I don't care where it came from, I don't want it. That's the power, because if you now define what you don't want, you can begin to define what you do want. In another week or so, I'm going to talk about it. It's pivoting. When you find or feel what you don't want, pivot to what you do want. Tuesday night, we talked about moving from upstream to downstream thinking and feeling. Follows upstream, downstream. All of these are ways to begin to change and take power to this. In every moment, you and I are infinite choice makers in a field of pure potentiality. There is no limit, there's no lack, except what you and I choose to have it be. And we get to choose every minute. We can choose from default. Being unconscious of the law, or just saying, you know what, I'm tired of making choices. Then you're going to keep going with what exactly you got. Because that's how you got here. And so as we begin to understand the power that we have within us, that is our greatest fear sometimes, is that we are so powerful that we shy away from it and go, wait a minute, I don't want to take all that responsibility. You already have it. It's just happening unconsciously or from default. So I'd rather be conscious about it. What we choose today will affect today and every day after. You say, well, I don't think my thoughts are that important. Yeah, they are. Because your thoughts make your emotions make your vibration attracts from today on. So we can do it either unconsciously or consciously. We can either do it by choice or default. But the law's going to work. If you look back through your life, you'll see it work over and over and over again. Most people are operating from default mode or unaware of the law. I believe that to be true. Of the 8 billion people on the planet, the majority of them are operating from, this is just who I am. I was made this way. God made me this way. My parents were like this. My mother was like that. Nothing I could do about it. I just got to suffer my karma. It's not how the universe is made. We have been created not only with thought and the ability to choose, but we've also been created with this emotional vibrational guidance system. We were so excited, I believe, when we said we're going back to the physical. Because we knew at that point we had both of these. But somehow we got domesticated once we got here, and we were told that our feelings were not valid. Think, be rational. But ignore these, depress those, suppress them. No, we were created with both. The yin and the yang was part of the creation of the male and the female part that we all have within us, thought, feelings. And they're equally important. And you can't have feelings without thoughts, and you got thoughts. A lot of us do. But if you don't have the vibration to go with it, your thoughts that you want to create will not happen. Most important question you have all day long. How is this making me feel? How's this making me feel? Do I want to continue to feel like this? Is this what I want to attract? Because if you understand your emotions or your point of attraction to the universe, and you're saying, hey, this I want more of, this, you're going to get it. That's how we create downward spirals. But we can create upward spirals if we become conscious. How is this making me feel? It makes me feel not so good. Okay, change your thought. Go to the next best thought that you have. You're not going to go from guilt to bliss, but you can go to the next step up. And it starts to feel better. Next week I'm going to share with you an emotional guidance system that helps. But if you are feeling good, and do more of it. And if you're not so good, change it. And if you do more of what makes you feel good, what happens is you begin to attract more of what makes you feel good. And you begin the upward spiral. And you begin to manifest and attract to you everything that you want. This life was meant to be enjoyed. This life was meant to be fun. Why would the source energy ever design us in a life to not have fun, not to feel good? It wouldn't be that way. So the law of karma is, again, as I said, there is no judgment there. The law is simply neutral. It never says, Dan, what you're feeling and your vibration is bad, I'm not bringing it to you. The law of attraction, law of karma work together. Absolutely. So with no judgment, who gets to judge whether it's good or bad? Me. And you do for you. The law doesn't care. The law is going to bring you back whatever the debt is that's out there. That's why I say so many times it can be used for a negative. Well, it's just my karma. Well, that is a victim consciousness. That's a victim energy. Saying, I don't have any choice to change it. I don't believe that that's true. These laws always deliver what you and I choose. Always. That's why they're absolute. That's why they're forever. That's why they're everywhere. What it moves us to, if we're serious about this change, it moves us to a place where we no longer can blame our parents. We can no longer blame employers. We can no longer blame our loved ones or friends. Choice is always yours. And if we own that and we begin to embrace that energy and embrace that power, it allows us to begin to make conscious, deliberate co-creation choices to turn that downward spiral, whatever it might be, it's different for everyone, and you begin to move it to someplace good. Galatians 6:7. Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for what a man or woman sows, they will also reap. I've had fundamental Christians want to argue with me about the law of karma. How can you teach that? And I said, well, do you believe in the Bible? Well, of course I do. I live the Bible. It's on my chest. I said, what about Galatians 6:7? That's the law of karma. And it says God will never be mocked and his law will never be mocked. And every spiritual teacher that of any essence has always taught this. So you could put, do not be deceived, God's law of karma will not be mocked. God's law of attraction will not be mocked. It cannot be absolute if it's not part of God's law. But here it sits, and I mean, this isn't the only reference. I could give you 5 or 6 of them that talk about this whole notion. I think it was the best way Jesus knew back 2,000 years ago to say, what you put in the ground, you're going to get in harvest. What you put out in your thoughts, and see what happened is the teaching then, the next step of the teaching stopped with thought, and you go to feelings where the vibration lies. But what you put out in vibration, you will harvest. And the law will not be mocked. It's perfect. It will always, always happen. So I said to you, I'm going to push some envelopes today. I am. I think for some of you. So I believe that we all have a non-physical being and a physical being. You can use other words for it. Some people call it your true self, your higher self, right? The big I, little I. Many, many different ways to see. Some people call it their soul. I don't like that word so much because it's a religious word that comes with a lot of negative connotations and a lot of baggage around for me. Again, remember, this is all my take. And there's somehow, for me, it seems when people talk about the soul, it's about something that's outside of them. It's disconnected with them. It's like, well, you know, that's my soul's contract, or, you know, my soul speak. And to me, it just creates duality. So I've named it, for me, what works for me is I call it my inner being. Again, it can be your higher being, it can be your divine being, it can be your God being, it can be Christ's mind, it can be Buddha nature. I don't think it matters what word you use, but I want words that work for me. And what works for me is that it's all one. And that's why I use inner being. Actually, what I do use is, I call it my inner me, all caps. And it's your inner you, all caps. That's how I differentiate, but yet it's all within me. It's all within that energy field, or as Abraham calls it, your vortex. Same thing. But why does it matter? Because here's what I believe is what we're starting to see. You've seen this before, I've showed it. What I love about this picture, it kind of differentiates the three parts of who we are. The top is the I am presence, I call it source energy or God. And then the middle there, it looks kind of like a picture of Jesus, I call the inner you or inner me. And then the physical part is you and me. All one. One big one. All of it within us. But the reason why it's important is the inner you, inner me is divinely aligned. It is not conditioned by human decisions. It's not conditioned by the thoughts and the feelings and the actions that you and I have done in the physical that may be out of alignment with I am presence or the God source. And what I'm finding more and more is that inner you or inner me is available for you and I to communicate with. And how do we know? We know by how we feel. The inner you or me is holding that divine picture of yourself, or dharma, or your divine purpose. It's what you're here to do and be. And it holds that for you, and when I get off course, I feel it in my gut. It feels not good. That's the emotional guidance system that brings me back in alignment with the path of light, or on the beam, as I often say. It's also where we started to talk on Tuesday night about upstream, downstream. This inner you or me holds everything that we have created in our desires to be while we're here in the physical. That's kind of the beacon. It's the attractor that has us going downstream to fulfill who and what we came here to be. How do I know this? Because it feels good to me. If it doesn't feel good to you, drop it. But for me, it's the only thing I can find that makes sense out of all this stuff. So the inner me holds the karmic records, your memories, and all of your desires. This is where I believe you want to talk about what happened in other lifetimes, it's held in here. If I have a karmic debt, it's there, I got to work it out this time around. It's the only way I can figure out, and it's the only reason it makes sense to me of reincarnation is that we come back and rebirth is, hey, I had some things I need to come back and straighten out. That to me fits with my belief system a whole lot better than you're going to eternal damnation and a burning hell. For what? One lifetime? I only get 70 years, 80 years, 90 years? We just looked at those galaxies that were how many thousands of millions of light years away. They had a long time to get better. And you're only going to give me 8, the greatest creation that you created, and I only get 85 years to get it right once? How could that be? It doesn't even make sense. Right? It's not anywhere close to how the universe works when we get outside of our own head. So this is the only way I can make sense of it, is somehow this inner me, this divine part of who I am, the part of that inside of me, knows what's best for me. And the alignment happens when I feel good. I'm in alignment with what Source wants me, headed to where I came to do. I don't believe I'm being told what to do, because then I no longer get choice. Because we've been created with free will choice. But I can, through my emotional guidance system, make decisions and check them out. It's like, well, wait a minute, that didn't feel quite right. How does that feel? Yes, that's the one. And you and I always know when we are on point, do we not? You can say you don't, but if you get quiet and you feel it within yourself, you will know when you're in balance and harmony with what your higher self, divine self, or your inner me says. And I believe this works in the non-physical and the physical form. When we leave and transition here, which some people call death, which I don't, it's not death. It's a transformation of my energy, because energy cannot die. And I simply go back to the non-physical. But this comes with me. The karma, debt, the memories, and the desires, the rockets of desires that I put out. Before I came on this planet, and before you came, you sat down and had desires for what you wanted to accomplish for coming back to the physical. I believe that totally. And that's why some people find peace and happiness and harmony, because they're in alignment for what they're here to do. For those who never find happiness and never find joy, never find peace in this lifetime, it's because I believe they're out of alignment with what they're here to do. And it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how long you are, you can get in alignment now, and it completely changes how you feel. So the law of karma says, the law says no debt in the universe goes unpaid. Most people, there's 3 ways that I know of how you pay this karmic debt. Most people pay it by default unconsciously. They just live it out, it's happening, it's coming through. And what do? They blame. Right? It couldn't be they created. It's the economic system, it's the political system, it's parents, it's employer, the minister, whoever is in the blame, and you're in the blame game. You are living unconsciously by default, playing out the whole deal. It is the most painful way to go through your time in the physical, because surprises come and you're like, well, it came out of nowhere. No, it didn't. No. We created. It was out there coming. We attracted it. And sometimes through our vibration, we sped it up. But as we begin to own that and know that, we can reverse it. We can pivot and begin to change it. The second way is we transform it into a more desirable experience. You hear this all the time. Well, what's the lesson the universe has given me? That's that process of trying to transform it. It's always looking for one seed of opportunity in the midst of whatever is going on. And you say, okay, if I do that, I can transform what I'm experiencing and move into something better. Works. We see it all the time. Well, I learned that lesson. If I learn the lesson goes. Why? Because the karmic debt's gone. And we can move forward in a more constructive way. There's a third way. That's to transcend karma by releasing it energetically and then moving into alignment with source energy. I'm going to teach a process Tuesday night how to do this. It's the only way I have found and all my studies and all the world religions that teach a way that you can transcend the energy around karmic debt. Those are the only three that I know. It's the only way I could find that works for me. But this debt will not be mocked. We will play it out, whether we're conscious of it, unconscious, or by default. I don't know about you, but I don't like playing it out by default anymore. I did that for a long time in my life. I want to be aware of what's coming. I want to know I have the tools to be able to handle it. How do I know I have the tools? Because how I feel. If I'm feeling good, I'm in alignment with Source. If I'm not feeling good, I need to start by changing my thought. And I simply go to what's another better feeling thought. And I begin a different spiral, a different energy flow than the other. The principle this week from the book is the principle. We did alignment, we did focus last week. This is joyful expectancy. What is joy? What is expectancy? You have to answer these for yourself. What are they for you? How do you know when you're joyful? How do you know when you're getting what you expect? So we're going to talk about how important those are. You can't read this. I know that. Next week I'm going to hand these out for you. It's an emotional guidance scale of how to know where you are in a moment and how to take one step forward. It's also seen in something like this: an upward spiral versus a downward spiral. And it ranks from 1 to 22. What's so interesting about this, you have to get to 7 before you move to the upward scale side. 22 to 8 is on the downward scale. And I talked a little bit about this last week, and we'll do more as we go forward. You and I live at an emotional set point on this scale. It's your natural who you are. It's how you show up to life. If you are unconscious your whole life to now and made no changes, you're probably going to be within 1 or 2 of where your parents were. Because that's where you were domesticated to and spent that beginning part of your 16, 18 years in marinating in their vibration. And you picked up their thought patterns and you picked up their vibration. And until you make conscious choices and begin to move up, and at least to get up to 8. What is 8? 8 is contentment. So the question you can ask yourself right now, am I living predominantly at a level of contentment in my life? If the answer is yes, then you're already started an upward spiral. If the answer is no, my emotional set point is somewhere below that, then you are down in the downward spiral, and you're going to attract from your point of attraction more and more of what that is. But we're going to do a lot more work on the next couple of weeks is all around this, and Tuesdays, because this is the most important piece of becoming conscious of our vibration and how we change today, so every day coming forward is like that. So which is more important to you, what you want or what you expect? Which one's more powerful? All right, let me give it to you this way. I want you to feel the energy. I want to be peaceful, right? I want to be peaceful, and I expect it. You never ever get what you desire. You get what you expect. And as we begin to move and become more conscious about what is my expectation, that becomes the vibration, that becomes the set point, attraction point, and more what you expect is going to come. What I just said right now, as I move into this next segment of my life, I'm getting peace. Because I expect it. The power in that is so much different than, oh, I want some peace, please. Could I have some peace? No. Command ye me. And one of the ways we have forgotten to command is we don't say what we expect. And as we begin to move more and more into expectations, and especially in the joyful part of it, we add. But we will always get what we expect, not what we want. And this is a disconnect, because in my mind I can say, I want peace. And down here I'm in disarray. Right? This is my expectation. The vibration of my feelings, or what my expectations are, really truly are, in my vibration, and that's what's attracting and coming to me. We always want to be aware of this. Ask yourself, when you wrote down your desire for this journey, I want you to go back today, before you go to sleep tonight, and ask what your expectation is of your written desire. And you may find a disconnect. It's okay. It's actually great that you found it. And you can quickly make the change and begin to talk about what you expect. And when you do, feel it. Are they in alignment? Are you feeling good? If you're saying this and you expect this, you will have your emotional guidance system tell you you're out of alignment with what's true for you. Always. Go back to that. If these are not in alignment, you and I are creating split energy. What do I mean by split energy? Split energy is sit in your car, push the accelerator, push the brake, push the accelerator, push the brake, push the accelerator, push the brake. How far do you go? Not far. And you'll probably burn out your car. And this is what we do vibrationally. We have, I'm going to set this great desire, this great thing I want, but we forget to get our vibration in alignment and forget to get our expectations in alignment, and we're doing this. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And all of a sudden, I hear in my coaching, well, Reverend Dan, I'm just exhausted. Of course you are. Your car's going to be exhausted if you keep doing that. Right? We have to get them in alignment. Go back to the very beginning principle, alignment, focus. See how it's starting to build on itself? Because you've got, the way you get away from split energy is you go back and become in alignment and focus on one thing. And begin to feel that happening. Clear, focused expectation is a force field of energy. The more laser focus you can get on what you want and then expect it and create that energy of what it feels like when you already have it, you watch what happens in that force field. Now here's a way to enhance your expectancy by supporting your desire and what you expect, and now you add imagination. Neville Goddard said this in 61 in his book, The Law and the Promise. To transform your present life into a dream of what you might well be, or do, or have, you need but imagine that you already are that. And feel the way you expect to feel when it occurs. So, desire, expectancy, and then we add imagination to it. And the imagination, as you create that picture, that movie, or whatever it is for you, you got to feel what it feels like to have it. So that's what I have to add to what I just said. I am peace, and I expect it, and now I have to see a picture of me living peace and feeling what peace feels like. Because that's the vibration now of how I begin to attract from there. And finally, Einstein said this: imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. We were just talking about golf over here a little bit while ago. The great golfers are the ones who can do this. They imagine the ball going in the hole. Those who cannot see that probably don't make it to the tour. That's how important this is, and it applies to all aspects of our lives. Define with clear focus what your desire. Find your expectation, Imagine seeing it already occurring. It's all totally in line with what Jesus taught. Remember? Ask, believe. You've already received it, and you will. And as we line these up, the universe must deliver. There's no option. Will not be mocked. Absolute always occurs. And as you get that conviction and that belief system that it's true, and you begin to apply these processes in the steps that they come, you cannot not have what you do. You can do, have anything that you want. But I don't know any other way to do that without putting these in alignment. In this principle of joyful expectancy, feel your vibration increase when you do the things I just talked about. Your vibration begins to get stronger. You will shortcut the system by these three things. Set your expectation, imagine it's already occurred, and feel your desire accomplished. And do it all with joy. Joy sets the state, sets the tone. And why do I pick joy? Why do I put joy, much joy, on all my emails now? Joy's number one. It's at the top of the list. And I'm not willing to compromise on any more or less than that anymore. That's my expectancy, is to be in joy 24/7. I'll never be there if I don't first expect it. State it, expect it, and becoming clear on what that feels like every day, all day long. So at the end of Christy says this, do 4 things in this chapter. Check in with yourself. Do I expect to see my desires? Clear that up. Clean that up. Are your beliefs about your desires making you feel good or not good? If they're making you not feel good, you want to change your desire. It's out of alignment with source energy. What new thoughts could enhance your expectations? What can I be thinking about that enhances that, takes my expectations kind of low on this? Well, you know, I kind of think it might happen. Nah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, I expect it. Command ye me, the universe says. And until you get there, you're going to be wishy-washy around here. Raise it up. And the more you begin to say, I expect it, every day, every night before I go to bed, and every morning when I get up, I say, I expect joy. And that every day it builds a momentum. Am I joyful 24/7? Not yet. It's coming. But I am more joyful today than I was a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. And that's how you know you're on an upward spiral. It's one small step up. And if you don't have the split energy, you don't go backwards. Who wants to take you backwards is your own ego. Because your ego wants to hold you in status quo. It wants to hold you and not feel good. And as you begin to break these patterns and move to a higher and higher place, there is no limit anymore and no lack. Raise your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs to the vibration of joyful expectancy is the top of the list. And if you begin to manifest from there, you cannot not get what you want. And you cannot not begin to feel good. I used this a couple weeks ago, and I brought it back up because I like what Christy had put in here for you and I like it. Just feels good to me. I am the divine in human expression. My divine self has created me to be filled with well-being, abundance, success, love, and joy. Does it get any better than that? It seems to me that's kind of a definition of heaven here on earth. My life is a co-creation between the divine and me. I have divine authority to manifest the fulfillment of all my desires, and I use this power rightly and wisely. I don't know, she summed it up really well there. I give her all the credit for it. I couldn't write it any better. And I like to end with what Wayne Dyer said. How people treat you is their karma, and how you react is yours. How people treat you is their karma. It's none of your business. It's none of mine. Don't get entangled. Disengage. Let them create their own karma debt. And you stay focused on yours and how you react. Because how you react many times has a lot of emotion. And that's your attraction point. Your vibration is how you react. What do you want to bring more to you? That's the question. Let's go to silence.